On the 22nd of June this year, KDP increased their publishing fees, and the biggest concern at the time was that this would affect sales and overall income from books published on Amazon. So in this video, we're going to look at this in more detail. I'm going to show you what my response was to these increased fees and how it affected my sales and income. So if you are unsure about how to price your books on Amazon, or are unsure what to do with books that you've already got published on Amazon, then this video may help you come to some sort of a decision. So first of all, let's have a reminder of what these changes were. So if we take a book 8.5 by 11 inches with 120 pages priced at $6.99, the royalties after the changes were about $1.15 per book. Now, prior to the fee increases, this was around $1.90 per book. So we can see that's quite a significant drop in royalties per book. So in my mind, I had two choices. One, do nothing, or two, increase the price of my book and basically pass along these fee increases to the customer, which is exactly what I did. And so I increased the price of all my books that were at $6.99 to $7.99. And this was the effect. The royalties were now $1.75 per book, which was still less than that original $1.90, about 7 to 8% less. So I was expecting to see maybe a couple of things. Either the orders remained consistent with what they were prior to the fee increases, yet I'd see a slight reduction in my overall income, or I would see a drop in my orders and therefore income, particularly if books around my book on those same pages kept their prices at the old price of $6.99. Now, none of my books are priced or were priced below $6.99. I don't have any books priced at, $5.99 or anything like that. So most of the books, as I said, were $6.99, went up to $7.99. And also, another side note, I didn't run any ads on my books at this time. In fact, I haven't run any ads on my books for about over a year now. So those wouldn't have any bearing on the results either. So we're going to look at the orders, the income, and also for my best-selling book, the bestsellers rank, see what the change occurred there in response to the fee increase. So here we are looking at the orders. Now, when you put in a custom date on KDP, you can't do a 6-month period. It can only be a 3-month period. So we're going to look at the orders prior to the change and after the change. So this is a couple of months prior to the fee change, and at around the 22nd of June mark, we can see that there wasn't really any significant change in orders. And if we go forward after the 22nd of June, we can see there wasn't really any change. And in fact, around the end of July, orders started to increase, which could be due to sort of seasonal variation. I often find around May, June, early July, overall sales in books tend to be a lot lower than the rest of the year. So this may just be the normal increase that I would tend to see in most years anyway. So if we look at the royalties prior to June the 22nd, they remain around the same in those months prior. And after the changes, you can see the income doesn't change much either. And by the way, this is for my top 10 books published on Amazon. And if we look after June 22nd, again, similar to the orders, we can see that the income remained pretty consistent. There was no major falls. And similar to the orders, from the end of July onwards, the amount of income gradually increased. So now we're going to look at my best-selling book on Amazon. And the beauty of this is that we can also look at the bestsellers rank, and I'll tell you why that's important in a moment. Now with this, we can see through May, early June, the orders were actually decreasing, but when we reach the 22nd of June, orders remain pretty consistent. And again, similar to overall orders for my top 10 books, it remained pretty consistent and slowly increased as we went into August and September. And we'll see the same with the income from this book, reduced in May, early June, and then remained consistent. There was no significant change after the fee increases. And we can see, similar to the order pattern, remained consistent and slowly increased from August onwards. So now what we can do is look at the bestsellers rank of this particular book, and I've got this data from Helium 10, for which I've got a paid account, and you can get this plugin installed which will show how your bestsellers rank for a particular book varies over time. So you can see here I had the price at $6.99. June the 18th I increased that to $7.99. Now, bestsellers rank is a good indicator of how your book is doing compared to all other books. The lower your bestsellers rank, it means more sales you're getting of your books compared to other books on Amazon, and the higher the bestsellers rank means the lower number of books sales you're getting compared to other books on Amazon. So you can see here, when I increase the price of my books, the bestsellers rank didn't change significantly. In fact, it seems to have trended down for about a month, which is a good sign. It meant that there was no change in the sales of my books. In fact, it looks like the sales of that particular book actually increased compared to other books on Amazon. And then it went up a bit and then came down a bit and has remained at this level just below, on average around 20,000. So this was a good sign. It meant that the sales of that book didn't change significantly. In fact, there's signs that the sales may have increased ever so slightly compared to other books on Amazon. Now, this is quite surprising because I expected that other publishers on KDP would increase the price of their books at the same time. And in fact, I monitored the pages around this time to see if that was the case. And it wasn't. Most publishers seem to keep their prices at the old price of $6.99, or in some cases $5.99. Now, this may be because they had those same concerns that increasing the price of their books would decrease their sales. And so when I saw that my book was the only one that was priced at that high level, I did have those worries that customers would go and choose those cheaper books instead. But the data shows and the sales show that this didn't happen. I still got those consistently higher sales than the other books on that first page where these books rank. So overall, I came to two conclusions. The first was that the increased price of my books as a response to the increase in fees didn't significantly affect the orders and overall income of my books. And secondly, having my book priced higher than those around me on that first page of the Amazon listings didn't affect the orders and income either. So really the takeaway from this video is don't be afraid to increase the price of your books. It doesn't necessarily mean that customers will go and buy your book if it's priced cheaper. There's a concept of perceived value, and sometimes having an item priced slightly higher gives it more perceived value, and in fact customers will go and buy that item because they think it's more valuable. So I hope this video helped you. Now, if you're interested in more videos about publishing books on Amazon, particularly no content and low content books, then I suggest watching this playlist here. Thank you very much for your time. It's very much appreciated. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and until next time, goodbye.